Hello guys, it is me again, it's HorrorFan34, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to another review for the Die Hard films. Now that we are getting on to the next review of the franchise, of course, going through this Blu-ray set, it's time to talk about the second to last one of the franchise. So of course, Live Free or Die Hard. Otherwise known as Die Hard 4. Now, Live Free or Die Hard was released in 2007. This time directed by Len Wiseman, who I think had a hand in some of the Underworld movies. I know he went on to direct the new Total Recall, which was not that good with Colin Farrell, and things like that. So you get Len Wiseman directing it this time around. This was released many, many years later after the third film, because the third film was 95, and this was 2007. So it's been a very long time. But you do have Bruce Willis coming back once again as John McClane. And now in this one, though, deals with cyber terrorism, pretty much, where a bunch of these computer guys deals with cyber terrorism, trying to take over these computers, and you have Timothy Olyphant, who plays Thomas Gabriel. No, not that. No, not this Thomas. This is a different Thomas. Thomas Gabriel, played by Timothy Olyphant, is basically the leader of these guys who are these cyber terrorists, and they're trying to take over cyber terrorism. And John McClane has to stop them. And then his sidekick this time around is a computer hacker, played by Justin Long. And of course, in this one too, you also have Bruce Willis, John McClane's daughter, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead from Final Destination 3, among others. And you also even have a role in here by Kevin Smith. Even Kevin Smith has a role in this, too. So that's pretty much what Live Free or Die Hard is about. Now, I know Live Free or Die Hard is one of the... This is the film that was PG-13 when it was released in theaters, and this Blu-ray set actually has the PG-13 cut. Yeah, PG-13. Because I also own the Steelbook DVD of Live Free or Die Hard, because that is the unrated version, which is the version I prefer. This is only the PG-13 version. I recommend watching the unrated version, but I figure I hold this up because this is all part of this Die Hard set. Now, Live Free or Die Hard is one of the few Die Hard films that kind of gets a mixed reaction from a lot of people. Granted, I mean, Live Free or Die Hard is nowhere near as good as Die Hard 1 and 3. And it's definitely not as good either as Die Hard 2, because, Live Free or Die Hard I really do enjoy, but, compared to the first three films, it doesn't come anywhere close to being as good as the first three. And Timothy Olyphant as Thomas Gabriel, who's the villain. I like Timothy Olyphant as the bad guy. I think he's a decent villain. But, for me, out of the first four films, he definitely is the weakest of the four villains of the first four films. Definitely better than A Good Day to Die Hard, that's for sure. But I'm talking about the first four films. He's definitely the weakest link out of all of them. Definitely not as good as Hans Gruber or Simon. And he's definitely not as good either as Colonel Stewart from Die Hard 2. I mean, Timothy Olyphant just doesn't come close to touching those first three villains. Because it's just so hard to top Hans Gruber. And it's really tough to even compete against Simon and even Colonel Stewart. Because those, Alan Rickman and Jeremy Irons and William Sadler play those three villains very, very well. But Timothy Olyphant, he decent villain, but definitely the weakest of the first four films, but I still think he does a fine job. Bruce Willis as John McClane still has it in him in this film. I think John McClane, is still a great character, and Bruce Willis plays him very, very well. I like the little back and forth that he had with Justin Long, where Justin Long plays this computer hacker and things like that. And on top of that, too, it has a really great, final confrontation between Bruce Willis and Timothy Olyphant, where Timothy Olyphant has Bruce Willis in a chokehold, and then he has a gun. Timothy Olyphant has a gun on him, and then Bruce Willis manages to point the gun like through one of his own wounds, and it goes through him, goes through that wound, and he kills Timothy Olyphant. He goes backwards and he lands on the car windshield. Pretty badass death. And of course, Justin Long takes care of the other bad guy. You know, I just think this film has a lot going for it. I think for a PG-13 movie, but for even watching the PG-13 cut, it still has a lot of really fun action in the movie. I think this film just has a lot going for it. I really like the cast. I mean, granted, Timothy Olyphant is nowhere near as good as the first three villains, but still is a decent villain. Bruce Willis, once again, does a great job as McClane. I like Justin Long. Even a little role by Kevin Smith I thought was a lot of fun. Mary Elizabeth Winstead does a decent job as John McClane's daughter. And overall, it's an interesting idea too, where the first film was was about a skyscraper. The second film was in an airport. The third film was going across New York City, going from point A to point B, not just in one position, but like going all over the city. And now you have this one dealing with cyber terrorism. And I just think each one of these Die Hard films has a unique concept to it, because like it's not just like the same kind of like formula each movie. Like the second film was an airport, the first one was a skyscraper. So it's not like the first two films were a skyscraper, both of them. It was like different scenarios. I think that's what makes these Die Hard films very, very rewatchable, because they all have different ideas, like different kinds of scenarios. And granted, the first four Die Hard films are just fantastic action films in general. Definitely, Die Hard 4 is not as good as Die Hard 1 or 3, because they're my top two favorites, and it's definitely nowhere near as good as Die Hard 2. But I think Len Wiseman does a very solid job in the directing department. I think it's probably the best film that he's directed. I like Bruce Willis. I like Justin Long. Timothy Olyphant's decent. I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Has some really cool action in the movie. Has some great chemistry between Bruce Willis and Justin Long. And overall, I think Die Hard, Live Free or Die Hard, has a lot going for it. I think it's a pretty good film, especially considering it was many years later after the third film. I think it works really, really well. So, just going to leave it at that. So, that is pretty much it for my review for Live Free or Die Hard. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Alright guys, take care.